Hello, good evening. I apologize for being a couple minutes late. My computer was giving me the color wheel of death, but here we are for bedtime stretches on this Wednesday evening. We will be using a couple of props. Please have with you a tea towel or a small hand towel, a yoga mat, and if you don't have a yoga mat, a blanket or a couple towels on the floor will do just fine, and a hard-backed chair. Let's get started sitting down in our chairs. All right. Let's come to the very edges of our chairs. Let's place the hands on the knees, and let's give the head a couple of circles. Let's do 4 to 5 circles in each direction, working out any of the kinks that have kind of crept into that area of the body over the day, and circle in the other direction. Noticing what feels good, what feels stretchy, or what feels clicky and a little bit crunchy. Now let's go into the top part of the torso. So we're going to think head and shoulders go down. Our shoulder right here becomes the highest point of the body. Our sternum becomes the highest point of the body. The shoulder becomes the highest point of the body. And the upper back becomes the highest point of the body. And circle a couple more times in that direction. And let's go in the opposite direction. Finding a little bit of mobilization in the head, the neck, the spine. Maybe start connecting this to your breath. And sit up nice and tall. Give those shoulders a roll back. And then each arm individually swim backwards. And stacking the hands one on top of the other. Let's roll back and create a nice big curl through the back. And then on the inhale, let's make a nice big arch in the spine. Exhale to curl. Inhale to arch. Exhale to curl. Inhale to arch. One more time, exhale to curl. Inhale to arch. Sitting up nice and tall. Grabbing one knee into the hands and rotate that ankle. We'll do about 8 to 10 circles in one direction, and then 8 to 10 circles in the opposite direction. Feeling that shin warm up, feeling the ankle release, maybe snap, crackle, pop a little, other side. 8 to 10 circles in one direction. And in the opposite direction. Good. What is happening outside? Bringing one hand to the side of the body like so, matching the palms together. And bringing the ear down to the shoulders, stretching out the neck. Oh, that's a little tight today. And we'll be here for about 3 breaths. And then roll the head towards the chest or chin towards the chest. Bring the head back up. Switch sides. Ear towards the shoulder. Feeling the neck stretch out and release. Breathing deeply. And roll the head forward, chin to chest. Head comes back up one more time on each side. Getting into that neck. Maybe turning the nose down and up. Getting into the fibers of that neck. And switching sides. Turning the nose down and up. Getting into the fibers of the opposite side of the neck. Good. Rotating that head towards the chest. Pick it up. Bringing those hands right on that neck and give it a little rub down. And as you're doing this, start tuning into some nice big inhales. Feeling the ribs really expand. And some nice big exhales. And feeling that all fall through the body. Good. Let's bring the foot up and over, sitting up nice and tall. And hinging forward, opening up the glute. And we'll be here for just a moment, slowly easing into this today. And as you are here, you can start thinking about what you want to work on today, or what tensions you are holding and want to release, or if you have started back at Sender 1 and you're rock climbing again, what parts of your body might feel a little bit more sore than normal, and how we can ease into those areas and find relaxation and release. Bring that leg off and switch sides, sitting up nice and tall, hinging forward. And today we will be focusing on opening up the back. But fun fact about the back, if we're working on our neck, we're helping our upper back. If we're working on our hips or our hamstrings or our hip flexors, we're also helping the lower back. So everything is kind of tied to the back, but we will be focusing on it a little bit more than usual today. And on this side as well, tuning into your breathing, seeing what this hip is telling you. Releasing that leg. Getting those hands ready to go right into the temples, just a little massage there. Maybe close the eyes. Let this be your moment before some of the stretches that get a little bit more in-depth and painful, to find the moment of release. Feel really good here so that we can feel really good even in moments of stretch. And then bring those fingers to the jaw muscles and just give that jaw a little care and massage and release. And if you're anything like me, this is also a reminder Then I don't have to clench my jaw 24/7, even though I do. All right, now that we've touched our face, let's touch our feet now. We can't really do it in the opposite direction, but let's work right into the arches. Massaging, seeing what's feeling good, seeing what's feeling a little bit tight. And if you want, you can floss those fingers through the toes, opening them up nice and wide, really feeling the foot splay, and taking a moment to just feel all of the joints of the foot expand. This should feel extra good um, if you've been doing like a lot of walking, or um, if you've been wearing your climbing shoes, which are sometimes really tight around the toes. So just take a moment to expand those joints. Maybe give it a wiggle, a little circle if you need. Giving each toe just a little pull, tractioning it out. Maybe a little wiggle. Good, let's go to the other side. And starting with massaging right into the bottom of that foot, paying special attention to the little points that feel maybe a little tighter or sore. Or if there's something that just feels really good, do that. This isn't a class only about like painful stretching. This is also a class about feeling good. So if something feels good, go with that. Usually good means right. Getting into those feet. And if you want, flossing those fingers in between the toes. Feeling that foot expand and releasing all of those joints. Especially those of you that have gone back to rock climbing, undoing what those shoes do to your poor little feet. And if you need, giving those toes a wiggle or a little circle one way and then the other. Good. Finish up with that foot. Let's come up to standing and go right into our calves. I know that this isn't for our backs, but oh man, calves always seem to be really tight. And this is also kind of something we do every week, so why not stick with our little tradition? And of course, while we are here, I'm going to remind myself to lower my shoulders, and maybe you can remind yourself too. Breathing deeply, feeling a nice long line of energy between our back heel and the top of our head. We'll be here for a moment longer. And just see, once you kind of get to the point of stretch, seeing if you can just release and ease into that. And I'll say this now, I'll say it again and again. The release that you feel might not be visible to the outside eye, but it has to start somewhere. And if that release starts in the brain, that is okay. Let's switch sides. And the reason why I say that is sometimes when we go into a stretch, it's a little painful. And sometimes I catch myself, and you might catch yourself, going into that fight or flight response and tensing up, when what we should be doing is releasing and easing in. So it is a little bit counterintuitive, but you just have to tell yourself, I am here doing this stretch and I am keeping myself safe so that your body can, chill out and leave that fight or flight sort of gripped state. And of course, you can do that also by relaxing the jaw, seeing if you can relax the front of our back ankle joint, seeing if there's any tension in the hips, or if you're gripping the stomach muscles, can you let that go a little bit? We can totally stretch our calf without excessive energy in other parts of the body. Easing into it. And switching, or not switching sides, putting the chair to the side now. So the first thing we're going to do for the back is our child's pose. So come to a nice wide kneed position and reach those hands forward. And just take note of what is going on in the spine. Are there any areas that feel a little stuck or sticky? Are you able to get your bottom to your heels? I can't get my bottom to my heels, and that generally means that my lower back is just a little bit tight, and that's okay. Taking note of how this feels in the upper back in between our shoulder blades. What does it feel like with our forehead on the floor in our necks? And now that we've felt that, we will revisit that position a little later. But now we're kind of aware of what parts of the back feel a little tight, what parts of the back feel good. Let's come up. Let's find a tuck in our tail, and let's go right into our psoas, which, even though we feel this in the front of our hips, the psoas connects to our lower back, our lumbar spine, reaching that arm up and over. So as I said at the beginning of class, when we work on our hips, we're working on our back. When we're working on our hamstrings and the mobility around the hip area, we're working on our back. When we work on the neck, we're working on our back. When we work on the shoulders, we're working on everything that is connected to the ribs, and those ribs are connected to the spine. It's all one. It's all one. You're working on one thing, you're working on the whole body. And on your next exhale, gently come out of that and switch sides. Finding a tuck in that tail, coming a little bit forward, reaching that arm up and over. And also, this is a great moment to take note how one side feels compared to the other. Is one side tight? Is one side loose? Is it dependent on what side you sleep on? Do you cross your legs while you're sitting? Because that will also affect what's going on in your hips. One more big inhale in and come on out of it. Let's switch sides. Let's do this again one more time on each side. Inhale in, and on the exhale, reach up and over, getting into the front of the hip. Breathing here, seeing if we can find more length. I like to think of a nice long kind of arched uh, line between my knee and my fingertips here. And now circle that top arm so that two hands are framing your front foot. Tuck your back toes and lengthen that knee. So we're in a nice long runner's stretch. Feeling a nice long back leg. And we'll be here for a couple of breaths. And here as well, let's see if we can find a long line between our back heel and the top of our head, the same way we did in our calf stretch. And now let's gently lower that knee down. And if you can, bend that back knee, holding on to the top of the foot, and see if we can get that heel towards our butt. Opening up that thigh, but now we're opening up more of the belly of the thigh versus the front of the hip. We'll take a couple more breaths here, and while you are here, check in with your shoulders. Check in with your jaw. Take a big breath in, and on the exhale, release that back shin down. Creep those front toes forward, flex that front foot, and let's lower the nose down to the shin, or as close to the shin as possible tonight. And we will stretch out the hamstrings, our first little hamstring stretch of the evening. Breathing deeply, letting that torso slowly sink towards your belly. Good. Bringing those hands back to the mat. Let's tuck the toes on that back foot. And let's just try this. It might not be successful, but let's give it a whirl tonight. And let's see if we can step back into a downward facing dog. And if you can't, maneuver yourself so that we are all in downward facing dog. And we feel a nice direction of energy going from the top of our tailbone all the way down through our palms. And we feel another long line of energy from the tops of our sits bones down to our heels. Lifting the heels up, bringing the knees down to the mat. And we bring the other leg front, finding a tuck in the tail, coming into this for the second time tonight. That arm goes up and over. And on your next big breath in, find a big exhale, circling those fingers so they're framing that front foot. Tuck the toes on the back leg and reach that leg long, finding a nice big runner stretch. And here again, finding a nice long line between the back heel and the top of the head. Seeing if the ribs are expanding nice and wide, or if the belly is filling up with air, connecting to your breath. And if you want a slightly deeper stretch, bring that knee down to the mat. Reach back, grab the top of the foot, and let's see if we can get that heel to touch the butt. Not tonight on me. Maybe another time. And now we're getting a little bit more into the belly of the thigh. And here we're starting to enter the stretches that are a little bit more intense. And here's where we really want to check in with the breath, the jaw, maybe even the focus, seeing where the mind is tempted to wander, or if all you can concentrate on is what's happening in the body, or just taking note of what's happening. Don't judge it, but just say, oh, I'm really thinking about this right now. Okay, maybe I'll think about breathing now. And on your next big exhale, release that back leg back. Transfer the weight to the back shin. Walk those toes a little forward. And let's find our hamstring stretch on the other side. Slowly letting that nose fall towards your shin. Exhale, falling deeper into the stretch. And again, the release that you feel might not be noticeable on the outside eye, but it's definitely there. And if you feel it, that's what matters. We'll take a couple more breaths here, feeling the belly fill with air, feeling the hamstring nice and long, feeling that jaw released. Bring those hands to the mat to kind of frame that front foot. And again, let's attempt this transition. We tuck those back toes and we step back to a down dog, or we figure out a way to get into down dog. Feeling the lines of energy between the top of the tail and the palms, the two heels and the two sits bones. I like to kind of walk through my heels here to get a little bit more of a calf stretch. You can do whatever feels good for you. Now let's all come up to the toes. Bring those knees down to the mat. Bring one arm all the way up to the ceiling. So we find a nice big twist through the back and thread those fingers through. So now we're going to get a little bit of a stretch in between our shoulder blades. Our upper back area is going to be targeted now. Maybe you close your eyes here to feel yourself deepening into this stretch. Feeling the twist in the spine, seeing if you can create more length. Take an inhale in. Then on the exhale, press through that supporting palm. Twist it back up. Hand comes down, other side. Reach it up. Thread it through. Finding this release in between those shoulder blades, that little bit of a spiral. Sometimes I can feel this all the way down into my lower back, depending if there's any tightness happening in there. Breathing deeply. And of course, like a broken record, check in with your jaw. Check in with your breath. Take one more big inhale in. Actually, we'll hold this for just a couple more breaths. Sorry about that, I'm getting excited. And on your next exhale, come up, twist it out, and let's make our way to our back. Grab your little tea towel. Fold it longwise a couple of times. So you create our little makeshift yoga strap, or if you actually have a yoga strap, use that instead. Let's do this one today. Let's sit up nice and tall. Let's grab the soles of the feet with our tea towel. And maybe this is where you stay to find that nice big stretch, or maybe you bend your elbows, bringing the torso a little closer to the legs. Let's see if we can maintain a straight and long back versus one that is super rounded and hunched over. So using a long back changes the sensation of the stretch. We actually get a little bit more into the hamstring with a lengthened back. And that also means that we're working a couple of muscles, a little bit of strength in the back body. We'll be here for a few more breaths. And if your feet are flexed, you might feel kind of like a nervy, tingly, stretchy sensation up those lower legs, and that is a-okay. Take a big inhale in. On the exhale, release those hands and then just melt the spine forward. Seeing if you can get the top of the head towards the knees. Roll up the spine. Bring those hands back. Roll the shoulders and then just stretch through the chest a little bit. This should hopefully feel good. Oh, it makes me yawn. Especially, this should hopefully feel good, especially if you spend some time typing or sitting and reading or drawing or writing. Just getting that chest nice and open is always really good. Time to go into our hamstring stretches. We're going to go right into the resisting and releasing because we just did a nice passive hamstring stretch, or we've done a couple of them already. Looping that fabric around the arch of the foot. Take an inhale in. And on the exhale, resist for 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale, release, bringing that leg a little closer to you. Inhale. Exhale, resist. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale, release, bringing that leg a little closer to you. Last time, inhale. Exhale, resist for 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale, release, bringing that leg just a tiny bit closer to you. Letting it hang out here for just a couple more breaths. And release it down to the mat. Give it a shake out. Other side. Hooking that little fabric around, lengthening that leg. Inhale. And on the exhale, you resist for 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale, release, bringing it a little closer to you. Inhale. And on the exhale, we resist for 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale, release, bringing the leg a little closer to you. One more time, inhale. And on the exhale, you resist. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale, release, and let it hang out and hold here for a moment. And on your exhale, let that go down to the mat. Shake out those legs. Good job. That one is just always so intense, but so rewarding once it is over. Let's roll over to our side. Let's do a little Yeah, we'll do a little for the inner thighs, and then we'll do a little bit for the back and the glutes, and then we will probably be ready for our little relaxation. Bringing those hands forward, sitting up nice and tall, and bringing those hands forward, feeling the center of those legs releasing nicely. Feeling the chest fall towards the floor. And if you're not there, just feeling those legs open, slowly but surely. And while you're here, notice what's happening in the jaw, in the shoulders, in how you are breathing. Are you gripping and protecting your inner thighs, or are you coaxing yourself to release and ease into the stretch? You are doing this stretch to yourself, so you have to tell yourself that you are safe, even if you're in this little bit of pain and you feel those flight and fight responses kicking in. And on your next exhale, slowly come out of that. Give the legs a little shake. Let's come to either to the back for figure four or up for pigeon to stretch out the backs of the hips. If you're doing figure four today, it's the exact same thing we did in the chair, except kind of flipped onto its back. So the top knee is bent, the foot is flexed, and we hold onto the hamstring and we bring that leg closer. Or if you are in pigeon, you keep those hips nice and parallel, and you have this shin as parallel to the front of your mat as possible. My shin is not quite parallel, but I'm working on it. And you can hold this for a moment, and then only when you're ready, come down to the elbows to keep stretching out that glute. We'll be here for a moment. So while you're here working on the glute, notice if there's anything tensing. Notice if those areas can be released. Maybe try to make yourself yawn to connect to the breath. See if you can sink a little bit deeper. Good. Come out of whatever stretch you're doing, and let's go to the other side. Whether you're in figure four or pigeon. Take a moment to set it up, feeling that back hip open up, the glute open up. Connect to the breath. Melting into the stretch, seeing if there's points of tension that you can release. Feeling the glute open up, but also know that this is translating into the lower back as well. If you ever have any tight sacral issues, sometimes stretching out those glutes can be a great tool for any sort of tight lower back issues. And we'll be here for just a couple more breaths. So on each breath, check in with the shoulders. Check in with the jaw. Check in with the hip and feel it open up and release. And gently come out of that, and let's come back to our knees into a child's pose. And just take a second in child's pose to see if anything has shifted in the body. Bring one hand out approximately 45-ish degrees and grab a wrist and feel the whole side of the body open up. So now we're working on the ribs, through the armpit, the shoulder areas opening up. And you might even feel this all the way down into the lower back on that side of the body. We'll be here for a couple of breaths, seeing if you can deepen and ease into it on each exhale. Let's do one more big breath in. One more big exhale out. And walk those hands to the other side. Feeling a nice big stretch on the opposite side. Closing the eyes. Feeling the ribs expand. Seeing if your hips are nice and released. Seeing if the jaw is good and released. Feeling the belly fill up with air. And on the exhale, gently empty. And on your next exhale, walk those hands back to the center in that child's pose. Slowly come up. And let's just turn onto our, let's bring the chair to the end of our mat. Let's roll up our tea towel into like a little kind of pillow, like so, just a little ball. Placing the shins on or the calves on the chair. Tea towel under the head so that the head is propped up just an inch or so. Those palms go up to the ceiling. You close your eyes. And take a moment to feel the lower legs supported by your chair. Feeling the hips grounded and on the floor. The ribs and the shoulder blades on the floor. The backs of the arms and the backs of the hands supported by the floor. Feeling the skull supported by the little tea towel pillow. And now you can kind of go through your body and just check in on certain points. And if you find any extra tension, see if it will release. And you can stay here and scan and release your points of tension for as long as you need. Thank you very much for joining class, and I will see you later. Have a good night.